Welcome to a new episode of Weird Balance, the show where we talk about characters and how strange some of the decisions by the devs are. During Season 1, the reign of Dragunov was unquestionable. You had Ulsan and Native representing the character, besides the ton of Dragunov players online. Those days, however, are long gone. Let me give you a short information about how Tekken is played. You have highs, mids, and lows. If you are standing, you block highs and mids, but lows connect. If you are crouching, highs whiff, mediums connect, and you block lows. Throws are highs, thus you can break them or crouch, or move away depending on the throw. Moreover, you have moves that track to one side or both, which are called homing moves. These moves have lights that represent true homing. Power crushes are moves with armor. You can throw them, some can be punished, and others ducked. With that out of the way, let's see Sergei Dragunov. Before this massive Season 2, Dragunov was already nerfed in several areas, yet he was still a fantastic character, mainly because the hit system and his pressure is very much Tekken 8. Dragunov was going to get changed no matter what. After a year or so of domination, everyone in the community wanted him to be changed. The path the developer took is interesting. He decided to change almost everything while focusing on throws. Let me preface this by saying that Dragunov is a poking character with grabs, not a grappler with pokes. One of the weirdest changes is wall rising 1+2. This move is 12 frames, so it's extremely consistent at punishing lows. By giving it a hit engager property, you can now get a full punish from a low. This fundamentally changes the way you play this character. You'll be looking for a low, and basically that makes him less technical. Even if you don't know your frames, you can just go for it and at least activate hit. It is punishable on block, but not by much, considering its current properties. The reason why they added that hit engager is because they decided to remove it from another move, his crouch throw. Before, it was extremely difficult to get this throw in a real match. You either had the read or had to use 3-4 or forward-4 to get it. However, it was a pretty cool move to do. Besides, it was a side-switching throw with hit activation property. The buff it received was increasing damage from 30 points to 35, and created some curious links into two moves, back 1+2 and up forward 1. Back 1+2 is +6 on block. Previously to this patch, it was a knockdown. From here you could follow up with something guaranteed. As for up forward 1, it's a high that also used to get you a knockdown into a follow-up. Both moves were changed to a forced crouch state on hit. The first one being +13 and the second one being +12. While having two moves that coexist with the crouch throw is interesting, it simply does not work properly for Dragunov. I can see the vision for up forward 1. Back 1+2 is such a significant pressure tool for Dragunov that if you remove the knockdown, it just becomes an extremely slow sidesteppable attack. This is not the way to lead players to focus on throws. The game expects you to use the crouch throw. However, this throw side switches. If you want to pressure the opponent, especially in the corner, you want to stay in there. You either combo into extremely low damage or take the +13 or +12 for a sidestep or hit activation. With no significant pressure from back 1+2, you might as well risk it for a while running 2, since that one wall splats at least, thus eliminating the back 1+2 from pressure scenarios. Up forward 1 is different. It has a lot of synergy with his other 14 framers. This one is a high with the aforementioned throw, back 4-3 is a hit engager, mid-high that wall splats. This one has another string with a mid in case someone is crouching, you can hit them with it. And also back 3 is a homing high with a counter hit throw included in this patch. For up forward 1, it makes sense to go into a throw. Still, being +12 after up forward 1 on hit is a little bit lacking since your only combo is down forward 4 if you don't want to take the throw opportunity. And this move is very common, especially because of the range, and it gives you something on normal hit compared to back 3. One huge change for this character is the encourage of pigeon roll. As the name suggests, it's a roll. You do it by pressing 3+4 to roll to the foreground and down 3+4 for the front. No longer a sidestep is required to perform that. The roll 3, for a fast low that transitions into a throw sometimes, is basically the same animations as down back 3 or the final part of the back 2 1-3 string. At least those two you can cancel into a crouch throw for a somewhat fake mix-up. Pigeon roll 3 is a cool move in theory. However, it's extremely inconsistent against people sidestepping. If you get a regular hit, you don't actually get any combo. Roll 2 is a long mid with juggle properties and it hits grounded. The roll itself leaves Dragunov crouching, so you have more options like wall rising moves, if you delayed it enough. And finally the tackle with 1+2, a throw you cannot break if Dragunov is in hit. However, you can break the follow-ups no matter if Dragunov is in hit or not. To further motivate the pigeon roll use, you have some buttons that can go into it, down for 1 and 2-1. They also reduced the hurtbox of the roll. All of this sounds great, until you realize the transition into a roll from down 4-1 or 2-1 is minus on hit, even worse on block. It's very easy to catch Dragunov spinning with just your mids, even mids without any decent tracking sometimes. While the low is fast, it's launch punishable. The tackle is extremely slow, thus the opponent can react with a hop kick for example. That leaves the mid as the most consistent tool. But this one is also bizarre. It wall splats and hits grounded, but it's slow. At least it's safe on block. In combos, it's very hard to use. With all of this said, the roll is mostly used when you have a knockdown. This is a very lackluster addition to Dragunov's toolset. Instead of giving him a more consistent option in neutral, or a pressure tool that could be reasonably plus on block or on hit, you get a weird pseudo 50-50 tool. Adding to the strange decisions, back 3+4 used to be a punch counter, safe on block. Now instead of getting you a knockdown with a follow-up, you have an automatic throw. This throw can be done in the same way as Go in Virtua Fighter, by the way, on block. A perfect input 1+2 does it. It sounds broken, but it's such a slow move, you're barely gonna see it. This streamlines a move that wasn't that useful in the first place. QCV2 was also changed. Instead of giving you an automatic combo with a tornado activated, it just gives you a follow-up, the same way as forward 1+2. Both moves are highly committable, and the reward is very low. This one is a mid that is punishable on block. QCF1, even though it's a slow high with some tracking to Dragunov's left, it went from -3 on block to -8, thus reducing all possibilities of sidestepping after an on-block one. The throws from down 4-3, forward 3-3, and sidestep 2-3 had a change. They take wide health from the opponent. While this buff seems like a great call, all of those 3 moves are absolute garbage. Down 4-3 only gives you a throw if you're point blank, and on hit, forward 3-3 is basically the same thing. As for sidestep 2-3, it's very easy to react and just duck. 4-3 is now +14 on hit, which means you can go for back 4-3 and even sometimes a launcher with a perfect +15 at range. But it's not a natural combo and it's punishable on block. Up forward 1+2, your main 1+2 throw went from 45 to 40 points of damage. Back 4-3 hit dash no longer gives you an aerial combo. While there are some interesting things in this patch, like back 4-2 no longer leaves the opponent crouching for the final one to connect, or the 6-hit combo actually gives you a natural one if the 4th hit lands, it's all a mess in terms of the identity of the character. It's weird to read the patch notes and try to understand the vision they have. The encouragement for throws comes from giving more synergy between strikes and throws. I'm frankly surprised they decided to go hard on pigeon roll, because it's not a good tool by itself. Instead of making changes to moves that already worked for position or pressure like up 4-1 and back 4+2, you could have just made new moves that could transition naturally into throws. I know I said up 4-1 at least makes sense compared to the other 14 framers, it's still a bizarre change for a character that requires knockdowns to establish pressure. As I said in the beginning, Dragunov is a poking character with throws. Even in Tekken 5 or 6, he wasn't a guy that was going to grab you all day. Tekken 7 Dragunov had a similar life, a top tier due to badly balanced pressure just to reach one of the lowest points season after season. There are ways to bring back the life and identity to Dragunov. If you want to push the weird pigeon agenda, at least make it 0 on hit from down 4-1 or 2-1. Back 1+2 needs to do a knockdown again. QCF4 was hated at the start due to how many things it did. Its current version just doesn't work. At least it needs to hit people grounded. All this is just to scratch the surface. Dragunov has a lot of tools without real purpose. The hit system also suffers, since his thing is having an unbreakable tackle or a guaranteed throw attempt from 4-4-2. It's very lackluster due to the moves allowing to cancel into the tackle don't have much synergy between them. I don't like 1-running-2 having the cancel property, for example. Dragunov can be a fun and balanced character if you really want to. I know this guy has been hated for 2 Tekken first seasons, but that doesn't have to be the case. Maybe someday we'll see a fun and balanced Dragunov. However, that day seems to be very, very far into the future.